All right, so the question is, do you need a ND filter on your GoPro when flying FPV? Let's find out. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Mr. Eddie Nunez here, bringing you yet another DJI FPV video. But today we're going to be talking specifically about ND filters. So right now I am running the Hero8 and I'm going to do 3 flights without an ND filter, and I'm going to do 3 flights with an ND filter. I'm going to throw it up into this video here so you guys get to see the difference between the video quality with an ND and the video quality without an ND. Now, the first question you should ask yourself is, well, do I need an ND filter? And before we get to do I need an ND filter, let's make sure that you guys understand the basics. What is an ND filter? An ND filter is basically sunglasses for your camera. What it does is it controls the amount of light that's coming in through the lens. That way you can get an appropriate shutter speed, right? So there is a generic rule out there that says if you're shooting in, let's say, 30 frames a second, which is what I'm shooting today, then your shutter speed should be 1/60. And as you may know, on GoPros, you can't control the aperture. So you're kind of stuck at whatever the default aperture is for the camera. One of the benefits of adding an ND filter or adding that shade is that you're going to get that appropriate shutter speed, which is going to introduce motion blur into your image. And you want motion blur because that is the type of footage or video that we're used to in the eyes, right? That's the type of footage we see on television, the cinematic shots, etc. When you remove an ND filter, then there's too much light coming into your camera, and then you can't keep your camera at the 1/60 shutter speed if you're recording 30 frames, because that's going to let too much light into the camera. So what the camera will do if you leave it on auto setting, or if you go into it manually and try to adjust it yourself, is it's going to increase the shutter speed. Now, by increasing the shutter speed, you're going to introduce sometimes a lot of jitters, and you'll notice that in your video footage that you're recording. Now, the purpose of this video today is the question that I posed earlier, is an ND necessary? I actually find it that when you add an ND filter to your GoPro, sometimes it introduces too much motion blur and you don't get that crisp shot. And that is the purpose of my video today. Is actually I'm gonna start recording without an ND filter. So my answer would be no, you don't need an ND filter when recording FPV and you're using a GoPro. You might need an ND filter when recording on my camera. Like for example, right now I'm using my A6500 and I have my aperture set at 1.2 and my shutter at 1/60 because I'm shooting 30 frames a second. And I have, of course, the Peter McKinnon variable ND filter, and I have that set right now at 4 stops to control that light and give me proper exposure. All right, so there you have it. That concludes today's video. Let me know your thoughts. Which video did you like better? Did you like the GoPro with the ND filter or the GoPro without ND filter? I'm sure I'm flying the Cinewhoop, so you might not see that much motion blur on a 5-inch. I'm sure though you would see a lot of motion blur. And as a bonus at the end of this video, I flew the Hero8 at 5K, 30 frames a second with hyper smooth turned on, again with no ND filter as well. And I'm gonna throw this at the end of this and we'll close out with the Hero9 video on my 5-inch. So until next time, peace.